£73 million. That is the fee Manchester United spent after 2 years of negotiations with Borussia Dortmund for Jadon Sancho. Fast forward a couple seasons and one of the most promising youngsters of his generation found himself banned from club training, with the closest he got to a football pitch being on foot champs, begging the question of what went wrong for Jadon Sancho. After all, he wasn't always getting his lunch delivered to him via Uber Eats. As I said, he was one of football's biggest superstars waiting to happen. But even then, whilst his brave move to Borussia Dortmund from Man City back in 2017 was viewed as ambitious by many, myself included, it was arguably the opposite. When Pep Guardiola was asked why he let such a promising talent leave the club despite the City chairman stating that Sancho was impressing so much that he would be fast-tracked into the senior setup, the Spaniard said how Sancho didn't want to accept the challenge of breaking into the first team. Now luckily, the move to Germany was an astounding success, meaning the questions regarding his work ethic never really got asked until years later. The £8 million move to Dortmund gave Sancho the promise of first-team action, which he didn't get at City, as they looked to replace Ousmane Dembele, and the club couldn't have asked for any better as he locked down that right wing position, breaking records as he bagged 13 goals and 20 assists in 43 games, despite only starting in 31 of them during his first year. That was just the beginning though. Roll on the 19-20 season and he got 20 goals and 20 assists in 36 starts, which saw him be named runner-up in the 2019 Golden Boy and Copper Trophy Awards. All Sancho was missing was some silverware to go with this new success, which came the following year as he helped Dortmund win the DFB Pokal with a brace in the final, finishing as the cup's top scorer over his new best mate Erling Haaland. Seriously, these two cooked for Dortmund to levels we've barely seen since. Just look at the 2021 campaign, okay? Sancho got 16 goals and 28 assists in 38 games, meaning by the time he hit 20 years old, Sancho already had 3 seasons under his belt where he hit 30 plus goals and assists. Literally, his time at Dortmund was total perfection, right? Well, after a bit of digging, the red flags towards his attitude were made apparent. Even he admitted that there were things he had to work on at a personal level, as quoted by the Telegraph saying, "Sometimes I'm late to training and it's things like this that I need to work on because I have a sleep problem." Little things like that where I need to be more professional. This is backed up by the fact that he failed to show up for training after returning late from international duty when he was just 19 years old. This wasn't a rare occurrence either, as it's been reported he either missed or was late to training a few times after staying up late playing video games. What's more is that he was found guilty of breaking lockdown regulations during the COVID-19 pandemic on 2 occasions. One where he and Manuel Akanji went for a haircut together, resulting in a €10,000 fine, and another where he went to a secret party to celebrate Tammy Abraham's birthday. Now, of course, Sancho's not the only one at fault in those circumstances, but at this point, his relationship with the then coach Lucien Favre and sporting director Michael Zorc was stained, as both publicly expressed criticism towards Sancho's attitude. Their relationship would only get worse, however, following a 4-0 defeat to Bayern Munich, where Sancho was subbed after just 36 minutes with the score 1-0. Favre admitted that this had nothing to do with injury concern, but the player's performance, which was not good enough. According to The Athletic, this left Sancho feeling humiliated, scapegoated, and unprotected by his employers. Sound familiar? Well, let's talk about Manchester United. But first, do you ever wonder how so much of a player's life can reach the internet? Well, it's leaks. And you're at risk too. For example, public Wi-Fi. Right now, I'm at the airport, and thanks to Surfshark, my online privacy is kept, well, private. And with the group stages wrapping up at the Euros, they've got an exclusive deal in celebration. Perhaps you're planning to jet off to Germany and watch some prime Southgate ball. Okay, maybe not. But thanks to Surfshark, you can get the best deals online when shopping. Whilst you're out there, you can also enjoy all your favourite TV shows and films from home and vice versa by simply changing your location with your VPN. That way you can bypass all those annoying region-locked football highlights online. Plus, by using my code SCORE or clicking the link in the description, you can get an extra 4 months free. There's even a 30-day money-back guarantee, so if for whatever reason you ain't happy, you're sorted. It's all one big win-win, and it really helps out the channel like you wouldn't believe. Despite the work ethic seemingly not being good enough, Sancho finally got a fresh start under Ollie's Red Devils following his £73 million move. Although they knew about the worries with Sancho, they all felt it stemmed from his wish to leave Germany. However, it didn't quite start as planned. His fine Dortmund form was overshadowed by his penalty miss in the Euro 2020 final. Now, this is hardly Jadon's fault. After all, it was Southgate's bias that kept him from getting any game time until his 1-minute cameo in the final versus Italy, which barely gave him time to warm up for the decisive penalty shootout. Nonetheless, this feels like a point in his career where everything suddenly began to go wrong. Upon his move to United, Sancho had a major ear infection when he arrived at Carrington, necessitating a trip to the hospital and the need to train with cotton buds inserted into his ear canals. He therefore couldn't start in the opening games of the 21-22 season, as he only started training with the rest of the team a week before then. And by the time he did finally get some game time, the spotlight was off him as a certain Cristiano Ronaldo rejoined the club. Sancho was taken off in the 66th minute of the 4-1 win over Newcastle United on Ronaldo's second debut. At full time in the dressing room, Sancho said he was surprised by how quickly the game was compared to Germany and that he needed to adjust soon. The club deemed Sancho's struggle to adapt to Prem action to be down to his delayed start to the season, alongside a sense of confusion about what his best position was. Because despite being identified as the main right-winger target and featuring very often there back in Germany, Sancho's preferred position was on the left. However, with Marcus Rashford firmly locking that position down, Solskjaer tried all he could to make Jadon work, to the point that he even tried him out at right wing back in a back three during training. Things seemed to look better though following the hire of Ralf Rangnick as interim manager. The short time he spent under the Austrian, as well as the even shorter time spent under Carrick, was probably Sancho's best spell at United. And in light of the controversy surrounding his attitude, Rangnick has come out backing the Englishman, saying how there were no problems whatsoever during his time there. In spite of this, he clearly wasn't viewed as an essential member of the starting 11 by his teammates, as a group led by Ronaldo held a meeting with Rangnick to preach the idea of playing with two up front, ultimately meaning Sancho would need to be dropped in order to accommodate this tactic. Nonetheless, it was Ten Hag's time at the wheel next, and with a long-term vision finally being looked at under the Dutchman, it seemed Sancho was part of a serious project. Yet again though, it was a season full of ups and downs. The club as a whole started poorly, but a major win against Liverpool changed United's season completely, with Sancho being the one to score the all-important goal, which was taken with such skill and calmness, it made fans excited to see the real Sancho. He enjoyed a decent spell, bagging 3 goals in 8 games, however it wouldn't last long. He was left out of England's World Cup squad, nor was he at United's warm weather training camp in Andalusia. Rather, he was in the Netherlands, participating in an individual training plan with coaches that Erik Ten Hag had previously worked with. The reason given by Ten Hag for this was for Sancho to improve on both his physical fitness as well as his mental fitness, as it had become increasingly clear with each passing game that Sancho wasn't getting any better. However, one senior football manager anonymously told The Athletic, "If you're a Manchester United forward and you can't run at an ammonia the Koshi defender and try and take him on, you've got a problem." This decision to solo train was seen as both a player care measure and a disciplinary one to address poor training performances and lateness in an attempt to iron it all out then and there, so that once Sancho was ready to return, he would have matured and become enlightened about what he had to do to succeed. Nonetheless, following his 3-month solo training arc in Holland, Sancho returned in the Carabao Cup versus Nottingham Forest to a huge round of applause from the fans with smiles all around. The vibe surrounding Sancho couldn't have been any better, yet he still ended the season with just 7 goals and 3 assists in 41 games. The training didn't seem to change much, and Ten Hag began to lose patience, bringing us onto the 23-24 season where Sancho had hit his lowest point. With an important game versus Arsenal coming up, Sancho was dropped from the squad altogether. When asked in a press conference why this was the case, Ten Hag explained that it was due to his performances in training. Whilst this is nothing new in the world of football, as managers often use this tactic of telling the public their training isn't up to standards in the hope to kick them into gear, it had the total opposite effect with Sancho. Rather than take this public criticism to heart as a form of motivation, he took to social media to throw fuel to the fire. In a now deleted tweet, Sancho said, "Please don't believe everything you read. I will not allow people saying things that is completely untrue. I've conducted myself in training very well this week. I believe there are other reasons for this matter that I won't go into. I've been a scapegoat for a long time, which isn't fair." Despite years passing, Sancho once again found himself feeling like a scapegoat at his own club. This of course did not go down well at United, with everyone viewing it as an obvious dig at Erik ten Hag. To try and come to a positive conclusion and move on, the player and manager sat down to talk things out. It was here that ten Hag showed Sancho videos from the training session leading up to the Arsenal game. He was reportedly unhappy with Sancho's lack of pressing. However, Jadon once again disagreed with the manager's analysis, leading to even more internal discussions following their meeting on how to end this conflict. United wanted Sancho to delete the post and apologise to the manager, with that apology then being made public. Sancho did delete the post, but refused to apologise to the manager both in public and private. This left United no option but to issue a statement on the situation, revealing that Sancho would remain on a personal training programme away from the first team group, pending resolution of a squad disciplinary issue. That resolution would never come. United attacking coach Benny McCarthy told Ten Hag that Jadon thinks that if he apologises, he'll be seen as someone who doesn't train hard, and that everything that's been said against him is true. What's more is that according to others at United who wanted to remain anonymous, as revealed by The Athletic, Sancho's attendance at these personalised training sessions were well below 100%. However, according to Sancho's camp, he'd only missed a few sessions, and that those that he had were down to illness. That being said, Nemanja Matic, who only briefly played alongside Sancho, name-dropped him directly as someone who would often be late to training in an interview with Austrian outlet YouPlanet. There's also the fact that last season, Ten Hag's staff set Sancho a daily schedule that started at least an hour earlier than the rest of the team. This was all part of Ten Hag's plan to introduce a more rigid and strict workflow to the squad, as it had become too relaxed under previous managers. To begin with, this worked, but it wouldn't be long until some Carrington executives began to notice Sancho's attention and focus dipping once again. In the end, it all culminated in the young Englishman being shipped back to Dortmund on loan in January. A place United once believed to be somewhere Sancho was desperate to leave was now his place to escape to. A goal and assist on his debut aside, Sancho's time at Dortmund had been quiet. But on May 1st, 2024, he proved to the world why United spent so much money on him to begin with. You see, Dortmund beat PSG 1-0 in the semi-final of the Champions League, and in the best way possible, Sancho played like a kid in the park. Every touch of the ball was pure magic, with Sancho enjoying his job for what seemed like the first time in years. As Owen Hargreaves said, his body language suggested that he believed, and so Dortmund and Sancho managed to get past PSG and into the final to face Real Madrid. It was both his and the club's moment for history, but it just wasn't meant to be. Nonetheless, one look at the media would tell you that Sancho's move to Dortmund saw him return to his peak form. That being said, in the 21 games he played for them, he registered a total of just 3 goals and 3 assists, resulting in Dortmund looking reluctant to sign him on a permanent deal, opting for another loan move instead. A move Sancho would also be open to, as it's been made clear that he has no interest in playing in red again anytime soon if Erik ten Hag is the man in charge. Nonetheless, United plan to sit down with Sancho before the preseason in a last-ditch attempt to iron out all the beef between him and the club, leaving Sancho with only a single decision to make: lock in or give up.